Welcome back to our channel, the place where hidden chapters, royal secrets, and the stories the palace won't publish finally come to light. Today, we bring you a breaking news: Harry explodes after learning what Meghan really did at Soho House. A divergent account of the union between the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has garnered persistent attention across social media platforms, independent websites, and mainstream comment sections. This counter-narrative challenges the traditional portrayal of a fortuitous encounter, positing instead that Meghan Markle's introduction to Prince Harry is the culmination of a calculated, protracted endeavor. At the core of this narrative are Soho House, the exclusive members-only club with a global presence, and one of its prominent figures, Marcus Anderson, who is characterized in various sources as the club's global membership director and a covert influencer. Proponents of the theory highlight a complex network of social interactions, public appearances, photographic documentation, and purported financial agreements. Collectively, they contend that these components align with a meticulously orchestrated campaign aimed at integrating Markle into the social sphere of the British royal family. To assess this narrative, it is essential to differentiate among the various types of assertions it contains. Certain pieces are things of public record, such as Soho House's expansion into specific cities, Markle's attendance at particular events, or the guest list for the Sussex wedding, while others are claims primarily based on anonymous sources, online reconstructions, or unverified documents. The subsequent sections of this narrative review delineate the principal assertions in an organized manner, elucidate the nature of the relationships and the evidence referenced by advocates, and indicate where commentary transitions from verifiable fact to conjecture. The narrative outlines Markle's association with Soho House, the allegations of Anderson's management of her social life, Prince Harry's late realization of this history, and the purported repercussions, a personal confrontation, a perceived public slight in the fashion industry, and the assertion that Markle's former key mentor retracted his support. Initially, one must examine the social institution that is central to the narrative. Soho House was established in London in 1995 by Nick Jones as a private members club aimed at those in the creative sectors. The concept was to provide an alternative to the traditional and often aristocratic private clubs in the city, a venue that merged hospitality and hospitality industry amenities with a selective membership and cultural programming targeted at artists, actors, directors, and media executives. Over time, the firm acquired a reputation for a distinct form of understated cool, with the original London house serving as a prototype for global development. Branches were established in notable cultural and commercial hubs, including New York, Berlin, Istanbul, Toronto, and Los Angeles locations that significantly influenced the life and career of Meghan Markle. Soho House functions as a collection of appealing venues, bars, restaurants, screening rooms, and hotel-like amenities, while simultaneously serving as an exclusive network for the exchange of introductions and social capital, occasionally propelling careers through strategically timed interactions. Observers advocating the alternative narrative emphasize that Soho House serves not merely as a setting, but as a catalyst for fostering relationships. Membership is exclusive, and the club's ethos prioritizes confidentiality and camaraderie. For some who contend that Markle's ascent into elite social circles was not entirely organic, the club serves as a staging ground, a venue where access to specific persons is neither arbitrary nor solely social, but can in essence be negotiated. In this scenario, Marcus Anderson's role is pivotal. Anderson is characterized in multiple publications as Soho House's global membership director and occasionally as a consultant, depicted not only as an administrator, but as a social architect responsible for curating guest lists, organizing events, and intentionally positioning individuals in close proximity. Insiders cited by observers portray him as an individual who fosters the club's atmosphere and whose influence may purposefully or unintentionally shape the career trajectories of notable members. Meghan Markle's recorded engagements at Soho House are a crucial element of this tale. Following her prominent portrayal of Rachel Zane in the television series Suits produced in Toronto, she allegedly became a regular attendee at the Toronto location of Soho House. Accounts from that era depict an evolving relationship. Some refer to it as a friendship between Markle and Anderson, who purportedly showed a distinct interest in her future opportunities. Proponents of the counter-narrative highlight that Markle's participation in Soho House events frequently aligns with gatherings including prominent individuals from fashion, philanthropy, and business. The proposed interpretation suggests that what could have been ordinary social interactions was in fact a deliberate strategy to position Markle within networks connected to the royal sphere. This analysis culminates in the principal assertion that the renowned blind date in London, purportedly the initial meeting of Harry and Meghan in July 2016, was not a spontaneous arrangement by a friend, but rather a contrived introduction orchestrated through years of strategic networking. Proponents of this perspective have developed comprehensive timelines that juxtapose Markle's travel logs, recognized social engagements, and photographic evidence with Prince Harry's public activities and the movements of his social circle. These reconstructions aim to illustrate various overlaps and notable coincidences: regular visits to London prior to 2016, images of Markle at events attended by individuals who would subsequently participate in royal functions and appearances at specific social venues that are customary locations for royal-associated socializing. Notable instances referenced in these reconstructions encompass a 2015 gala in London where Markle was photographed alongside a technology entrepreneur who subsequently attended the wedding, documented interactions with a British aristocrat linked to Prince Harry's established network, and participation in polo matches and activity intimately associated with the royal family. Archival photographs of Markle at the Bridgehampton Polo Club in New York from August 2006 are referenced in certain narratives to imply a consistent history of participating in activities conducive to establishing elite transatlantic relationships. Likewise, images of Markle in cities with Soho House establishments, such as a photograph captured at Soho House Istanbul in 2015, and reports of her attendance at a rooftop event in Barcelona with Prince Harry's acquaintances, are construed as indicative of a deliberate attempt to integrate her into networks that intersect with the prince's. Proponents of orchestration ascribe numerous locations to Anderson's influence. The assertion is not only that Markle was coincidentally in the appropriate places and settings, but that Anderson's position as a gatekeeper enabled him to intentionally position her in environments conducive to introductions. Proponents of this thesis argue that Soho House's exclusive membership model, Anderson's curatorial role, and Markle's participation in specific events create a credible framework through which her social visibility and network connections were amplified, thereby increasing the likelihood of an encounter with Prince Harry. In addition to the choreography of social appearances, the counter-narrative presents more problematic aspects related to financial facilitation and purported prior conduct. At the extreme end of the spectrum are the unsubstantiated allegations that Markle's prior affiliation with Soho House, prior to her television success, entailed sexualized activities characterized in certain online forums as serving as an escort or being positioned alongside prominent patrons for the purpose of their entertainment. Advocates reference images from 2006 at the Pink Elephant nightclub in Southampton, New York, which they assert depict Markle among a group of ladies present to entertain patrons. The photographs are not broadly accessible and are mostly restricted to select European countries. They circulate within specific online forums as purported evidence of a dark past. It is imperative to highlight that there is no reliable, verifiable evidence to support these charges. Credible journalists and fact-checking entities have not substantiated the escort allegation, illustrating how incendiary claims can disseminate online. Proponents of this argument often invoke overarching misogynistic stereotypes of ambitious women in public spheres. Hence, the most grave claims are frequently seen by several observers as speculation, hearsay, or digital defamation, rather than verified truth. Alongside these scandalous allegations are more manageable, yet nevertheless conjectural financial inquiries. Commentators have inquired how a television actress, before the substantial income associated with prolonged fame, could finance a lifestyle characterized by frequent overseas travel designer apparel and entry to exclusive settings. The hypothesis arising from this inquiry posits that Markle's affiliation with Anderson and Soho House was both social and financial. Specifically, that her membership expenses or travel fees may have been financed by business accounts or donors who may gain from her increasing prominence. Certain internet stories reference a source asserting that Anderson facilitated the complimentary Soho House membership for Markle, funded by corporate resources on the grounds that she constituted a valuable asset to the club's image. In the context of the theory, this purported sponsorship is characterized not solely as benevolence, but as an investment, a quid pro quo, wherein the club and its administrators anticipate a return in the shape of cultural capital prominence or access to new domains of influence. Collectively, these components contribute to a significant psychological aspect of the narrative that is central to the counter-narrative, the assertion of Prince Harry's alleged late realization of his wife's history prior to their connection. This version posits that Harry originally accepted the traditional story of a serendipitous blind date and perceived Meghan as a source of solace from the meticulously curated institutional environment he had known since birth. Subsequent to the couple's relocation to Montecito, California, the story asserts that Harry purportedly discovered internet photographic evidence that elicited concern. And frequently recounted narrative depicts him perusing historical pictures and observing a snapshot from a previous social event with Meghan on a fancy yacht. A navy blue canvas bag emblazoned with the characteristic gold Soho House writing is reportedly visible in the backdrop of the shot. That fact, insignificant in isolation, is depicted as the catalyst that prompted him to unravel a broader narrative. The tale depicts Harry as tracing that thread, cross-referencing dates, examining guest lists, and analyzing images until he became convinced that a long-standing network of contacts and introductions had existed prior to their formal encounter. The narrative expresses a profound sense of betrayal, the impression that his romantic fairy tale was at best meticulously orchestrated and at worst contrived to position him as the focal point of a calculated social elevation. This rediscovery introduces an alleged aspect concerning his sibling. It asserts that, at an earlier stage in their connection, Prince William privately cautioned Harry about Anderson supposedly characterizing him as not merely her friend, he's a strategist. Supposedly, Harry ignored this as typical brother concern only to later regard it as prophetic. Following that pivotal moment, the counter-narrative asserts that the relationship between Harry and Meghan declined. Online reports detail a contentious encounter at their Montecito residence, often referred to as the Montecito standoff. In this narrative, Harry interrogated Meghan regarding the nature and scope of her ongoing communication with Anderson and requested elucidation on the purported strategic campaign that had relegated her to the royal periphery. Meghan reportedly responded defensively, refuting claims of a coordinated scheme and accusing Harry of paranoia and of siding with his family. The exchange is reportedly characterized by several critics as an irreparable fracture and a driver for additional marital pressure. The psychological intrigue surrounding this purported discovery engages adherents of the theory, while advocates also reference tangible evidence they interpret as supporting indicators, most prominently the composition of the wedding guest list from the couple's marriage in May 2018 at St. George's Chapel in Windsor. Royal weddings typically feature a significant presence of family aristocrats and global leaders. However, critics noted that the Sussex wedding was notably attended by individuals affiliated with Soho House and Marcus Anderson's network. Online accounts suggested that over 200 attendees attended a special evening event following the wedding, with as many as 60 having direct connections to Anderson and the Soho House environment, including executives from the club, prominent members and influencers from that social circle. Nick Jones, the creator of Soho House, was also recognized among the attendees. For proponents of the thesis, this assembly of guests serves as a type of empirical validation, a public exhibition that the network facilitating Markle's rise was being honored and solidified at the pinnacle of ceremonial society. Critics saw the reception as a corporate takeover of a royal event, an impression designed to convey that a private, branded network had infiltrated the monarchy through matrimony. In this narrative, Prince Harry transitions from an engaged player in a romance to a prize attained by a meticulously performed social plan. Observers highlighting this aspect note the unfamiliarity of many visitors to Harry's family, implying that the groom was introduced to a contingent of his bride's associates. Theory advocates extend the narrative into the couple's lives beyond royalty and their public endeavors to establish their identities beyond the palace. Following her withdrawal from royal responsibilities and her relocation to the United States, Meghan endeavored, according to numerous reports, to establish an autonomous public persona. A prominently featured event in that endeavor was at Paris Fashion Week, where she occupied a front-row seat at a significant Balenciaga show. Supporters of the counter-narrative argue that instead of enhancing her social credentials, the appearance elicited a negative response from the fashion sector. Images and videos disseminated extensively on social media depicted Meghan engaging with photographers and onlookers, highlighting a perceived absence of cordiality among the gathered fashion elite. A front-row guest identified in some commentaries as actress Kristen Scott Thomas was noted for her rather apathetic demeanor. Analyses of Meghan's laughs and facial expressions have led numerous observers to judge them as contrived or uncomfortable. Unidentified stylists and insiders cited in tabloid criticism reportedly labeled her as try-hard or misaligned with current fashion tastes. The prevalent perception among proponents of the alternative narrative was that this public event encapsulated a wider societal repudiation. Fashion, as to other prestigious cultural domains, is frequently depicted as a milieu where reputation and social status can rapidly ascend or decline. According to proponents of the hypothesis, the Balenciaga episode indicated that Meghan's previously established social capital had evaporated, and moreover, the individual primarily accountable for its creation and preservation, Marcus Anderson, deemed the association unsustainable. An unnamed insider purportedly affiliated with Soho House informed critics that Anderson confronted Meghan post-event, delivering a candid evaluation she had transformed herself into a meme, and that ongoing public blunders were proving damaging. Subsequent to this alleged interaction, Anderson ostensibly retracted his endorsement. Within the context of the narrative, this retraction constituted not merely a personal affront, but a mode of social ostracism, as Anderson's position as a gatekeeper to elite circles implied that his disengagement would diminish invitations and access. This final episode is presented by advocates as the resolution of the narrative. The individual purportedly responsible for Markle's introduction into prestigious circles ultimately indicated that her worth to the network had waned, leading to the assertion that her social opportunities had declined. The overall trajectory, initiating with curated interactions in Soho House venues, progressing through a wedding abundant with the club's affiliates, and culminating in public humiliation at a fashion show, serves as evidence of an arc that transmuted an ostensibly romantic origin narrative into a meticulously orchestrated social engineering endeavor. Although the alternative story is thorough and persuasive to certain individuals, it is crucial to delineate the various layers of the account. Numerous elements are based on verifiable facts. Soho House's establishment and international growth, the roles of various individuals within the organization, Markle's participation in specific events, and the makeup of the Sussex wedding guest list as detailed in media reports. Yet many conclusions derived from these factors depend on speculation regarding motives and secretive agreements. Claims regarding clandestine financial support, purported escort activities in 2006, the details of private discussions among key individuals, and the exact nature of photographs or voicemails uncovered during private discovery have not been substantiated to the level demanded by ethical journalism. Moreover, the methodologies employed by Internet investigators to construct timelines integrating public pictures, social media content, and third-party accounts can provide patterns that are indicative without definitively establishing causality. It is essential to examine the methodological issues that emerge when transitioning from correlated occurrences to causal narratives. The abundance of intersecting social circles among cosmopolitan elites results in frequent contacts through various unremarkable mechanisms: shared work domains, common leisure activities, physical proximity, and mutual acquaintances. Secondly, the archival materials that underpin several reconstructions, such as images, event programs, and social media check-ins, may be inadequate, inaccurately dated, or misattributed. Images captured at several dates may be repurposed with new captions that modify their significance. For example, a bag in the background of a photograph can be perceived by some as a conclusive indicator, but it could equally be an item moved between locations by different individuals. Third, selection effects and confirmation bias influence which aspects of the record are emphasized. Researchers who start with a hypothesis tend to focus on evidence that supports their idea while disregarding contradictory information. Fourth, anonymous sourcing, an indispensable yet perilous instrument in modern journalism, can yield clues but cannot replace documented evidence. Anonymous quotations may be misremembered, misrepresented, or fabricated. Comprehending the appeal of the alternative narrative to several observers necessitates an examination of cultural processes. The narrative explores concerns regarding authenticity, merit, and gatekeeping that permeate various socioeconomic strata. The relationship between a royal prince and an apparently ordinary self-made actress creates a feel-good story about love overcoming institutional hurdles. However, the counter-narrative subverts this sentiment by implying that the fairy tale was mostly a result of social engineering. The inversion is rhetorically potent as it recontextualizes an occurrence of upward mobility as a product of manipulation rather than individual agency or fortune. Furthermore, the narrative is gendered accusations of commercial relationships, sexual histories, and the commodification of women's social presence reflect enduring cultural norms that render such reports both titillating and emotionally impactful. Furthermore, the instance illustrates the modern ecology of rumor and validation. Digital platforms enable swift distribution, enhancement, and interconnection of content, transforming localized doubts into seemingly global narratives. Visual evidence, photographs, and brief video clips is especially compelling online, since it fosters the idea of direct engagement with reality. Images can be decontextualized. They require interpretation to convey meaning. The disintegration of conventional institutional gatekeepers of information, editors, fact-checkers, and esteemed newsrooms has facilitated the emergence of alternative narrators who amalgamate amateur archival efforts with persuasive narrative construction to produce engaging, albeit not consistently reliable accounts. Institutional limits exist about what can be publicly verified. The complexities of royal security privacy concerns and the confidential nature of specific company documents hinder the determination of the provenance of certain assertions. Typically, the internal billing records of a members' club are confidential. Anonymous claims regarding subsidized memberships in the absence of definitive evidence remain a disputed conjecture. Likewise, confidential discussions within a marriage or among company members may be conveyed secondhand or via anonymous sources, so complicating the evaluation of accuracy. Judicial systems, defamation legislation, and journalistic ethical standards impose reputational hazards on outlets who make unverified allegations. Hence, credible organizations often refrain from making claims that lack independent verification. Nonetheless, the alternative story elucidates wider processes regarding the perception and reporting of contemporary social mobility within elite circles. It underscores the importance of curated social environments, exclusive clubs that validate and enhance specific types of social capital, and the role of gatekeepers within those systems. It illustrates how in an era of pervasive photography and immediate reporting, curated photos and serendipitous intersections may be constructed into seemingly cohesive narratives that resonate with underlying concerns around influence and authenticity. From a cultural standpoint, the narrative resonates as it reinterprets a well-known romantic genesis as the result of deliberate strategy, a narrative form that is both recognizable and disconcerting in modern discussions around stardom, power, and marriage. The public's perception of the lives of public individuals has further implications. The desire for alternative explanations can result in narrative inflation when ordinary events are viewed as elements of a larger scheme. This inclination is not exclusive to this instance. Analogous tendencies manifest in narratives that attribute political success, corporate advancements, or artistic innovations to intentional orchestration, rather than to a combination of skill, serendipity, and evolving social circumstances. The presence of gatekeepers and regulated environments is tangible and sociologically important. Nevertheless, the transition from acknowledging their function to claiming a completely orchestrated campaign necessitates evidence that is frequently not or cannot be readily disclosed to the public. In summary, the counter-narrative portraying Meghan Markle's relationship with Prince Harry as a result of a strategically managed social campaign, reportedly orchestrated in part by Soho House and Marcus Anderson, is constructed from a combination of public records, anonymous sources, interpretive timelines, and speculative inference. It presents a markedly divergent narrative from the official story of their meeting and ensuing relationship, reinterpreting a public romance as a high-stakes social endeavor, featuring a director cast and predetermined objective. The theory connects several known events and interactions into a cohesive narrative. However, it relies in certain instances on unverifiable assertions and interpretations of intent that are still disputed. In several intricate tales, prevalent online readers and observers must evaluate the evidence, discern where speculation has been superimposed on truth, and be vigilant regarding the distinction between what is verifiably true and what is credibly implied by associative patterns. Beneficial practices encompass obtaining contemporaneous documentation, prioritizing confirmed accounts over unsubstantiated ones, and recognizing the limitations of inference in the context of private relationships and institutional norms. Engaging in this approach does not preclude valid inquiries such as the function of curated social environments, the impact of gatekeepers, and the mechanisms through which elites perpetuate access, which are significant and can be addressed. However, it necessitates meticulous methodology, adherence to privacy and evidentiary standards, and a cautious attitude towards narratives that convert coincidence into conspiracy, absent the requisite supporting evidence. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for the time being.